Welcome to today's Transformation Dive here on Earn Flow Zone, your space for cutting through the noise and getting to the heart of what it really takes to build not just wealth, but a life you love living. We're not about get-rich-quick schemes or complicated financial jargon that leaves you more confused than when you started. We're about practical strategies, mindset shifts that actually stick, and building sustainable habits for long-term growth in your finances. Yes, but also in yourself. Have you ever felt like you're just treading water financially? Like you're doing everything right, working hard, maybe even getting raises, but the needle just isn't moving on your savings or getting out of debt? It's incredibly frustrating, right? Like you're stuck in some kind of invisible financial quicksand. You see others seemingly breeze through, building assets, taking dream vacations, and you wonder, what am I missing? Maybe you scroll through social media, seeing perfectly curated feeds, showing financial freedom, talking about passive income streams and investment portfolios that sound like they belong to someone else entirely. And that nagging thought pops up. Well, they must just make a ton more money than I do. That's the only way. Here's a bold, maybe even slightly uncomfortable hook for you. What if the biggest obstacle isn't how much money comes in, but what you're doing with it once it's there? What if the problem isn't your income bracket, but your financial intent? It sounds simple, maybe even too simple, but sticking around today might just fundamentally change how you view your entire financial future. We're about to bust a really persistent myth that keeps too many talented, hardworking people stuck. If you're into real, actionable money and mindset content that challenges the status quo and gives you tangible tools to take control, hit like and subscribe. It helps way more than you think in getting this message out to others who need it. And hey, I'd love to connect with you directly. Drop a comment with where you're watching from, or share your biggest money habit win, big or small. Let's celebrate progress together. This journey isn't easy, but it is achievable. It requires honesty, a willingness to look inward, and the courage to try new approaches. It's about shifting from feeling controlled by your money to being in control of it. Let's dive in and change the way you think about success. Okay, so you open your banking app, and yeah, there it is, that little knot in your stomach. Maybe you check it 10 times a day, watching the balance like a hawk, feeling the anxiety creep in. Or maybe you avoid it altogether, stuffing the statements in a drawer because, frankly, you just don't want to know. Every single month feels like a frantic, high-wire act. You're juggling bills, praying the washing machine doesn't finally give up the ghost, or that you don't get a flat tire, and just constantly asking yourself, where the heck did it all go? It's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking, man, if I just made an extra $1,000 a month, then everything would be fine. Or maybe you do make decent money now, perhaps more than you ever imagined possible when you were younger. But somehow, the savings account isn't growing. The credit card balance seems stubbornly high, and that feeling of true financial freedom, it still feels light years away. You look at friends who seem to effortlessly manage their money, or the smooth-talking experts online with their perfect budgets and portfolios. And the narrative solidifies. They must just make way more money than me. That's the only difference. Let's be real. It's a comforting lie, isn't it? Pinning your financial struggles purely on the income number. Because if it's just an income problem, well, you just need more income, right? Simple. If only that magical extra paycheck appeared, poof, the struggle would instantly vanish. But here's where we pull back the curtain, where Earn Flow Zone gets a little uncomfortable, because we have to face a tough, often surprising truth. For the vast majority of people, the actual amount of money coming in is far less of a bottleneck than understanding precisely, intentionally, methodically where that money is going. Now, this isn't about pointing fingers at your morning latte habit or shaming you for that weekend takeout binge. Look, we all have our things. Mine involves way too many books I swear I'll read. Eventually. But it is about peeling back the layers on a deeper, more subtle, and frankly, more insidious problem. The profound lack of intention driving your financial decisions. Think of your money like a powerful river. Are you building dams and channels to direct it towards fertile fields, your goals? Or are you just letting it flood the banks and seep away into the sand, unconscious spending? You're reacting to money pressures, reacting to impulse, reacting to convenience. You're not actively, consciously directing it. You're letting it flow through your fingers, or worse, letting it get swept away by unconscious habits you barely even notice. This isn't a problem exclusive to the broke college student. It happens whether you're making minimum wage or pulling in a comfortable 6 figures. The broke beginner feels controlled by debt collectors and overdraft fees. The growing earner watches every hard-earned raise evaporate into lifestyle inflation. Bigger car payments, fancier gadgets. More expensive, spontaneous trips. The ambitious builder sees potential investments sidelined by impulse buys or subscription services they don't even use. Here's the core concept. The myth keeping people stuck is believing they lack income. The reality is, they almost always lack control, not because they're inherently bad with money, but because they haven't learned or applied the principles of being truly intentional with it. It's like fitness. You can join the fanciest gym, get a high income, but if you don't have an intentional plan, consistent workouts, mindful eating, you won't see results. Your bank account is the same. It's a scoreboard, but the game is played with intentional decisions. Ask yourself this week, where does your money seem to disappear without a trace? What's one spending area where you're definitely reacting, not directing? This one question changed everything for me. It shifted the focus from how can I make more to how can I be smarter with what I have? Understanding this distinction, the myth of needing more income versus the reality of needing more intention, is the absolutely critical first step. It's the foundation upon which all sustainable financial growth is built. All right, so you're ready to change the way you think about success. Let's dive in. The first hurdle? It's not your income. Seriously, so many people fixate on making more, which is great, don't get me wrong, but they completely miss the real problem. And the real problem? It's a simple yet profoundly powerful concept, a lack of intentionality. Think about it. You've heard all the common refrains, right? Ugh, budgeting is so restrictive. Saving means I have to say no to everything fun. We've been conditioned to view these essential tools of financial health through the lens of deprivation, like being put on a strict diet where you can only eat kale and drink water. That narrative, it's bankrupting you, not just financially, but mentally. The core principle we're unpacking today, right here in the Earn Flow Zone, isn't about some form of financial austerity or punishment. It's about power, the sheer, unadulterated power of intentionality. What does that even actually mean when we talk about your money? It means that before a single dollar leaves your pocket, before it's swiped on a card, transferred online, or auto-deducted, it has a job, a specific, pre-assigned purpose aligned with your goals. It means making a conscious, deliberate decision about where your precious energy, your effort, and yes, that hard-earned money is directed. Let's use a picture you can easily see. Imagine you're building a house. You wouldn't just show up at a plot of land and randomly start pouring concrete and stacking wood, would you? You'd have a blueprint, a detailed plan. You'd decide where the kitchen goes, how many bedrooms you need, the style of the windows, the kind of roof you want. That blueprint is your intention solidified. Money is no different. Without that blueprint, without clear, strong intention, you don't build a house. You just end up with a messy, chaotic pile of materials, or in our case, a confusing, often stressful pile of transactions, bills, and debt. You spend because it feels good in the moment. That instant gratification is powerful, almost like endlessly scrolling social media hoping for a hit of dopamine. Or because society subtly, or not so subtly, tells you to keep up. Or purely out of ingrained habit. Or even out of stress, using spending as a coping mechanism. But you have to ask yourself, are those knee-jerk reactions, those unintentional expenditures, actually building the financial future you truly want? Probably not. Here's the surprising insight, the myth bust that changes everything. Financial freedom isn't about having an unlimited, overflowing bank account. It's not just about the number of zeros at the end. True financial freedom is about the power to align your money flow, your income, your spending, your saving, your investing, with your deepest values, your most important goals, and your personal vision for your life. It's about having the power to say yes, unequivocally, to the things that truly matter to you: experiences, security, giving back, growth, whatever it is, by consciously and confidently saying no to the things that don't serve that vision. This isn't just about crunching numbers in a spreadsheet. It requires looking inward. It demands introspection, asking yourself tough, sometimes uncomfortable questions about your spending habits, the fears that drive some of your decisions, and what your deepest, most authentic desires actually are. So for today, right now, let's just pause, take a breath, and genuinely think, what does financial freedom actually mean to you? Not what the highlight reels on Instagram parade as success, not what your friends seem to be doing, but what you, deep down, truly want your money to enable in your unique life. This isn't a rhetorical question. This is the starting point for building your financial blueprint. Okay, you've started asking the big questions. You're looking at your life, maybe your goals, and realizing there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be. And often, a huge part of that gap comes down to one fundamental question that most people think they know the answer to, but rarely do at a granular level. Where does it really go? Think about it. We live in an age of absolute financial invisibility. You swipe your card, you tap your phone, you click Buy Now. The entire transaction process is designed to be frictionless, instant, almost invisible. Money just disappears from your account. You probably have a general idea where it went: rent, utilities, groceries, maybe that one big online order. But have you really, truly sat down and meticulously gone through a full month's bank statements or credit card bills? Have you categorized every single transaction, no matter how small? Here's where the self-deception kicks in. The numbers, your actual spending data, rarely lie. But we are masters of crafting convenient narratives around our financial behavior. We mentally round down amounts. We conveniently forget those small, seemingly insignificant impulse buys. We lump diverse spending into vague, unhelpful categories like miscellaneous or shopping, which are essentially financial black holes. That $4 coffee every day? It's just coffee. The $12 streaming service you barely use? It's only 12 bucks. The $50 you blew on a spur-of-the-moment night out? Hey, I deserved it. Needed to blow off some steam. Alone, these feel harmless, like tiny drips from a faucet. But stack them up over a month, then multiply that by 12 months in a year, and suddenly you're looking at potentially hundreds, possibly thousands of dollars vanishing into the ether of unconscious spending. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. You keep pouring money in, earning it, but it leaks out before it ever accumulates enough to make a difference or help you reach your goals. A classic, relatable example we see all the time: the mid-earner who genuinely struggles to save for a down payment on a house or pay off debt. Yet when they finally examine their bank statement, it reveals a staggering $300 or more each month on things like delivery apps and subscriptions they honestly barely use or could easily cut back on. The surprising insight here, the one that challenges common thinking, isn't that you're blowing all your money on gigantic, obvious splurges. It's often the cumulative effect of these small, unconscious financial leaks that are sinking your ship. These leaks are invisible, precisely because you haven't shone a light on them. They operate in the background, silently eroding your savings potential. So here's the prompt for action, a simple challenge that changed everything for many people I know. Try this for the next 3 days. Commit to tracking every single dollar you spend. Use an app, a simple spreadsheet, or even a small notebook. Write down everything. Don't judge it, just collect the data. We're not fixing anything yet. We're just gathering information. Get ready for some eye-opening discoveries. Okay, so we've started to paint a picture of what financial growth and personal success could look like for you. Maybe even scratched the surface of some big-picture goals. But here's where the rubber meets the road, and honestly, where many well-intentioned plans hit a wall. Why is it sometimes, even when we know better, we still find ourselves making those spontaneous purchases, clicking buy now on things we didn't plan for, or just watching money seem to evaporate without a clear understanding of where it went? It often comes down to unmasking your money habits. Think about it. Our brains are evolutionary marvels, incredible at finding shortcuts and conserving energy. They're wired for ease, for efficiency, and yes, for instant gratification. Behavioral finance, a fascinating field, confirms what many of us intuitively feel. We are absolutely not purely rational automatons when it comes to our money. We are messy, emotional beings influenced by everything from how much sleep we got last night to the latest influencer post, to the deep-seated patterns our parents modeled or the social pressures we feel. These influences crystallize into habits. Deeply ingrained patterns of behavior, often formed over years, that run on autopilot. They are your default settings. Do you automatically grab a coffee from the fancy place every morning? Is scrolling online stores your go-to stress relief, leading to impulse buys? Do you upgrade your phone every 2 years just because the carrier says it's time, without questioning if you need it or if your current one is perfectly fine? These aren't signs of moral failure or character flaws. They're simply patterns your brain has learned are the path of least resistance. Like a well-worn trail in the woods, your mind defaults to these routes because they require minimal conscious effort. A common draining myth is that conscious spending requires ironclad willpower, a constant battle against temptation 24/7. The images of you standing guard over your wallet, muscles tensed, always saying no. It sounds exhausting, right? Because it is. and it's often unsustainable. The truly surprising and liberating insight here is that true intentionality with your money, and consequently, true financial growth, comes less from brute force willpower and far more from understanding why you have these habits in the first place, and then, critically, setting up systems to work with or cleverly around your brain's natural tendencies. You don't need to white-knuckle your way through every decision. You don't need to constantly fight that desire for convenience or comfort. What you need to do is build an environment or a system where the intentional choice, the one that aligns with your goals, is actually more convenient or more automatic than the unintentional autopilot one. Think about the classic lunch example. Fighting the urge to buy lunch every day with pure willpower is tough, especially when you're hungry and rushed. Building a system where packing your lunch the night before is just part of your routine, where the healthy food is prepped and ready to go, makes the intentional choice easy, almost automatic. This isn't about restriction. It's about redirection. It's where understanding your psychological wiring perfectly meets practical, actionable system building. This is how you start shifting from being controlled by your habits to consciously designing them. For reflection this week, try this. Identify just one spending habit you suspect is operating on autopilot. When and why does it usually happen? Just notice it, without judgment. Welcome to today's transformation dive here on Earn Flow Zone. Ever feel like you're playing financial whack-a-mole? Just when you knock down one bill, another pops up, often with a bigger mallet. It's easy to feel trapped, like your money is controlling you, instead of the other way around. You see people talking about investing, budgeting apps, saving for retirement, and it feels like they're speaking a different language from a different planet, while you're just trying to make it to the next payday without hyperventilating. That feeling of living paycheck to paycheck, or even worse, watching your bank balance shrink faster than a free ice cream cone on a hot day, it's not just a financial problem, it's a mindset challenge. It can steal your energy, your focus, and your hope. But what if changing your money story didn't require a magic wand or a sudden lottery win, but just a slight shift in how you think about the dollars you do have? What if intentionality isn't just for the wealthy, but is the secret weapon for climbing out of scarcity? If you're into real, actionable money and mindset content that cuts through the noise and gets to the heart of building financial freedom from wherever you are starting, hit like and subscribe. It helps way more than you think, and make sure you don't miss out on future strategies. Before we dive deep, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment with where you're watching from, or your biggest money habit win. Maybe you finally tracked your spending for a day or resisted that impulse purchase. Share your progress, no matter how small. Today, we're going to strip back the complicated layers of finance and focus on the fundamental shift that has the power to change everything, especially when money feels terrifyingly tight. We're going to talk about finding leverage when you feel like you have none. We're going to face the reality of scarcity head-on, validate that struggle, and then arm you with a perspective that doesn't just help you survive, but strategically positions you for growth, one intentional dollar at a time. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a foundation-building guide. Let's dive in and change the way you think about success. Feeling that intense pressure of scarcity is a raw, stressful experience that far too many people know intimately. It's the knot in your stomach checking your bank balance, the calculations in your head about whether you can afford groceries and gas, the constant low-level hum of financial anxiety. When every single dollar is mentally allocated, or even over-allocated, before it even hits your account. The idea of being intentional with your money can sound utterly ridiculous, maybe even insulting. You're not being frivolous. You're just trying to cover the absolute essentials. Rent, utilities, putting food on the table, maybe transport to get to work. There's no extra money sitting around waiting for some grand intentional plan. You might think, intentionality? I'm just trying to survive the week. And you're absolutely right. That is your primary focus, and it's a valid one. People in this situation are often told they just need more discipline or to cut out lattes, which completely misses the point of the systemic pressure they're under. It's not about willpower when there literally isn't enough to go around. The surprising truth here isn't a magic budgeting trick. It's realizing that not making a conscious decision about your limited funds is itself a choice, and it often defaults to spending patterns driven by stress, convenience, or old habits that don't serve your future. Think of it like trying to eat healthy when you're working 3 jobs and barely have time to sleep. You know you should eat nutrient-rich food, but grabbing the cheapest, fastest thing feels like your only option. This isn't a lack of desire to be healthy. It's a constraint of time and energy. Similarly, financial scarcity imposes constraints that make ideal financial habits seem impossible. The surprising fact is that even within these severe constraints, identifying where the money is going, even just the absolute necessities, is the first step towards taking back a tiny bit of control. It's like a doctor understanding where the pain is coming from before prescribing treatment. Without acknowledging the reality of where the money is actually flowing, you can't even begin to consider redirecting it. This isn't about finding money you don't have. It's about understanding the path the money you do have is already taking. This one habit, observing without judgment where your money is currently obligated, changed everything for me when I was struggling. It showed me the non-negotiable landscape I was dealing with. Ask yourself, when you feel that intense pressure of scarcity, what is your default reaction regarding money? Do you avoid looking? Do you spend on small comforts out of stress? Or do you face the numbers, however scary they are? Try this for a week. Simply track every single dollar that leaves your possession, even if it's just $5 for laundry. Don't try to change anything yet. Just observe. This isn't about guilt. It's about gaining clarity on the financial battlefield you're currently navigating. Understanding the true picture of scarcity is the necessary, albeit uncomfortable, first step towards intentionality. Living under constant financial stress doesn't just impact your bank account, it deeply affects your mindset. The scarcity mindset is a powerful trap. It convinces you that there isn't enough, there never will be enough, and therefore, any effort to improve things is futile. This can lead to feelings of hopelessness, resignation, and a lack of motivation to even try small steps. It's like being stuck in quicksand. The more you struggle aimlessly, the deeper you sink. People often underestimate the psychological toll of this pressure. It can make you less effective at work, strain relationships, and steal your mental bandwidth, creating a vicious cycle where the stress of not having enough money actually makes it harder to earn more or manage what you have. The myth here is that you need to eliminate scarcity before you can work on your mindset. In reality, shifting your mindset is often what gives you the clarity and energy to start addressing the scarcity itself. It's a bit like a game. If you're convinced you'll lose, you play passively. If you believe you have a chance, you look for strategic moves, no matter how small. The surprising insight is that breaking free from the grip of the scarcity mindset doesn't require abundance. It requires finding small pockets of agency and control. It's about proving to yourself, through small, deliberate actions, that you do have some influence, even if it feels minuscule. This isn't toxic positivity, ignoring your struggles. It's strategic psychology, leveraging tiny wins. One habit that helped me significantly was celebrating minuscule financial steps. Did I manage to not buy that impulse snack I wanted out of stress? That's a win. Did I actually sit down and look at my bills for 10 minutes instead of avoiding them? Another win. These small victories build momentum and challenge the scarcity narrative that says you're powerless. They prove that you can make a different choice, which is the foundation of intentionality. Ask yourself, where does the scarcity mindset show up most strongly in your life? Is it avoiding financial conversations? Impulse spending when you feel stressed? Believing there's no point in trying to save $1? Try this for a week. Identify one small area where you feel powerless financially. It could be meal planning, checking your account balance daily, or resisting one specific impulse buy. Focus only on that one small area and try to exert a tiny bit of intentional control, celebrating any small success. This isn't about fixing everything. It's about proving you have the capacity for change, even when resources are scarce. This small shift in perspective is often the trigger for bigger changes down the line. When you're feeling the intense pressure of scarcity, where every dollar is spoken for before you even earn it, the idea of intentionality might genuinely feel like a cruel joke. You're not sitting there choosing between different investment funds or debating asset allocation. You're just trying to survive, right? Rent needs paying. The fridge is looking empty. Transport costs are non-negotiable. And maybe, just maybe, there's a tiny bit left over for something that keeps you sane. A cheap coffee, a moment of peace. There seems to be absolutely no extra to be intentional with. And you're right. In the traditional sense of allocating funds for savings or investments, there isn't. This is where the principle of intentionality shifts slightly but remains incredibly powerful. For you, intentionality isn't about abundance allocation. It's about fierce protection and strategic allocation of minimal, precious resources. It's about becoming a guardian of those few remaining dollars after the non-negotiables are accounted for. Let's use the example. Choosing between buying cheap, unhealthy food that's convenient but makes you feel sluggish and unwell, versus spending slightly more time or money on healthier options that genuinely improve your energy and focus. The convenient, cheap option might save you $1 or two right now, but it could cost you significantly in terms of lost productivity at work, reduced energy for job searching, or even increased healthcare costs down the line. The healthier option, while potentially a small strain on your immediate budget or time, is a strategic investment in your well-being and future earning potential. The surprising insight here isn't that you should somehow magically save large sums of money. It's that even in the deepest depths of scarcity, you still have choices, difficult ones, often between two unappealing options about where your limited funds go. And those choices, however small, can significantly impact your physical well-being, mental clarity, and future prospects. Are you spending those few remaining dollars out of pure stress, convenience, or unexamined habit on things that actually keep you feeling stuck and drained? Or are you finding ways, however difficult, to direct even small amounts towards things that genuinely support your ability to earn more, learn a new skill, improve your health, or otherwise strategically position yourself for a better future. Intentionality at this stage isn't about building wealth. It's about survival plus strategically positioning yourself for growth. However small that positioning might seem today, it's the difference between just weathering the storm and using the storm to build resilience and look out for land. For action this week, sit down and list your absolute non-negotiable expenses: rent, essential utilities, basic food, unavoidable transport. Be brutally honest. Then, look at the remaining small amount, if anything is left. It might be tiny. Decide one specific small thing that money, or a portion of it, will be used for this pay period that genuinely supports a future goal, even indirectly. Maybe it's bus fare for a potential job interview outside your usual route, investing in slightly healthier food for energy, saving $5 towards an emergency fund of just $100, buying a cheap notebook to plan your job search, or even using that small amount to intentionally not buy something that drains your energy, like alcohol or excessive junk food. This isn't about eliminating all comfort. It's about making one conscious decision with your minimal remaining funds that aligns with wanting a better future. This one habit of consciously directing even a tiny amount towards growth, even when everything feels scarce, is the seed from which future financial freedom grows. So, you face the reality of your non-negotiable expenses and identified the tiny sliver, if any, of discretionary funds. You've made one intentional decision with that small amount, directing it towards a future goal, even if it feels insignificant. Maybe it was using that $10 difference to buy slightly more nutritious food, or setting aside $3 for a future me emergency fund. What happens now? You might feel like that one tiny action didn't change much, and in the grand scheme of immediate financial pressure, you're right, it didn't magically erase your struggles. But something profound did happen. You exerted agency. You proved to yourself that you have the capacity to make a conscious choice, however limited your options. This isn't about the size of the amount. It's about the direction of the decision. Think of it like trying to get in shape when you're completely out of condition. Running a marathon is impossible, but walking for 5 minutes is. That 5-minute walk doesn't make you fit overnight, but it builds the muscle of showing up and moving in the right direction. The surprising insight here is that momentum isn't built with massive leaps, but with consistent, tiny steps. That one intentional $5 or $10 decision is the financial equivalent of that first 5-minute walk. People often think they need a big win to change their financial situation, especially when things are tough. They wait for the raise, the debt to disappear, or a stroke of luck. But the reality is, the capacity to manage more doesn't suddenly appear. It's built through practicing intentionality with what you have now. That one intentional choice, made difficult by scarcity, builds a crucial intentionality muscle. It makes the next intentional choice slightly easier. It shifts you from feeling like a passenger tossed around by financial waves to feeling like a captain, even if your boat is tiny and battered. This one habit of making one small, intentional financial choice each pay period, focusing on future growth or well-being, is the antidote to the paralysis caused by the scarcity mindset. It proves that you are not powerless. Ask yourself, now that you've made one intentional decision, what did it feel like? Was it hard? Did it create any sense of control, however small? Try this for the next pay period. Repeat the process. Face your non-negotiables. Look at the remaining amount. Even $1 makes a difference. And make one more intentional decision that aligns with a future goal. It doesn't have to be the same goal. It just needs to be a conscious, strategic choice for your future self. This isn't about perfection. It's about building the habit of conscious decision-making with your money, no matter how little you have. This consistent, small action is the true power behind intentionality in scarcity. Okay, let's bring it back home. We've talked about the crushing pressure of scarcity, the feeling that intentionality is a joke when every dollar is spoken for, and the vital shift needed, seeing intentionality not as abundance allocation, but as fierce protection and strategic direction of minimal resources. We dug into the surprising insight that even when you feel you have no choices, you do, especially about where your limited funds go. And those choices impact your well-being and future ability to earn. We challenged the scarcity mindset and discovered that small, intentional actions are powerful tools for building agency and momentum. The one big takeaway from all of this is that financial freedom, or even just financial stability, doesn't start when you have enough money. It starts when you decide to be intentional with the money you have right now, no matter how little it is. The potential long-term benefit of practicing this intentionality when every dollar matters is profound. You build the habit of conscious decision-making. You develop resilience. You start seeing opportunities you missed before, and you position yourself for growth. It's like tending a tiny seedling in harsh conditions. It requires constant care and protection, but that seedling holds the potential for a mighty tree. A deeper insight about money, discipline, or growth. True financial growth isn't just about increasing income or cutting expenses. It's fundamentally about aligning your spending, however small, with your values and your future aspirations. When you spend out of habit, stress, or convenience, you are letting external circumstances dictate your financial path. When you make even one tiny, intentional choice with a dollar that could have gone anywhere, you are stepping into the driver's seat, claiming agency over your financial destiny, $1, one choice at a time. In the end, your bank account will catch up to your mindset, not the other way around. Now, you've navigated those earlier stages. Maybe you've locked in a budget, tackled debt, built that initial safety net. And then it happens. You get the raise. Congratulations. It's a fantastic feeling, a tangible reward for your hard work and growth. More money, less problems, right? Not always. For many, this is where the real stealthy challenge begins. The mid-earner trap, or more commonly, lifestyle inflation. The natural human tendency is to expand into the space you're given, and that applies just as much to your finances as it does to your closet or your living room. You start making more, so you naturally, almost unconsciously, start spending more. The slightly nicer apartment that's just a little bit more per month. The newer car with the higher payment. Those extra couple of dinners out each week because you feel like you can afford it now. Maybe you buy slightly more expensive versions of things, or you treat yourself more often to clothes or gadgets. Each individual upgrade feels small, reasonable, even deserved. You earned it. And yes, you did. The problem isn't the earning, it's the consumption that follows without a plan. These individual upgrades, when added together, become a stealthy predator devouring your increased income. Let's look at that familiar scenario. The one earn flow zone sees play out time and time again. Think about Sarah. Sarah works hard and gets a well-deserved $10,000 annual raise. That's roughly $833 extra per month after taxes, depending on her tax bracket. She celebrates, which is fine, and starts making small changes. She decides to finally get that slightly nicer car she wanted, adding $200 to her monthly payment. She moves into a slightly bigger apartment that costs $300 more per month. Feeling flush, she starts eating out an extra couple of times a week, easily adding $100 per month to her food budget. She buys a few more nice things for herself or her place. Let's say that's another $100 a month on average. Let's tally that up. $200 car, plus $300 rent, plus $100 eating out, plus $100 nice things, equals $700 extra spending per month. Over a year, that's $8,400. Where did her $10,000 raise go? It's almost entirely consumed by these seemingly small, justified increases in spending. She feels like she's earning more, but her ability to save, invest, or build actual wealth hasn't really changed. She just has more expensive bills. The surprising insight here, the one that flips the script on conventional thinking, is this: simply increasing your income does not automatically increase your wealth or financial security. In fact, without a conscious strategy, more money often just means bigger, more expensive problems. Problems that are now baked into your monthly expenses. Your ability to truly build wealth and gain financial freedom at this stage, when your income is growing, hinges entirely on your conscious decision to save and invest a significant portion of your increased income before it gets absorbed by lifestyle creep. This requires intentionality, a deliberate choice to direct your money towards your future goals, not just your current desires. This one habit changed everything for me and countless others. For your next expected raise, bonus, or even a significant tax refund, before that money even hits your bank account, decide the exact percentage or dollar amount you will save or invest. Then, set up an automatic transfer for that amount immediately the moment it arrives. Treat it like a bill, but a bill you pay to your future wealthy self. It's a powerful act of intentionality that guarantees your increased earnings translate into increased wealth, not just increased spending. Now let's talk about a level where unintentionality might seem impossible, but it's arguably the most costly. Intentionality for ambitious builders. You know who you are, the entrepreneur whose business is finally humming, the high-income professional climbing the corporate ladder fast, the creator building a thriving brand. You've moved past survival mode. You have significant earnings, perhaps even substantial assets accumulating. Surely, intentionality isn't an issue now, right? You can comfortably afford the nice things you once dreamed of. The myth here is that once you make enough, your money problems disappear, and spending unintentionally is just a minor leak in a big bucket. That couldn't be further from the truth. At this level, unintentional spending and resource allocation take on a different, often more subtle, but incredibly impactful form. It's no longer about accidentally overspending on groceries because you didn't check the flyer. It's less about basic budgeting and more about optimization, leverage, and long-term impact. Unintentionality for the ambitious builder looks like leaving significant chunks of liquid cash sitting in a standard checking account, earning next to nothing, simply because you haven't prioritized setting up and funding diversified investment accounts. It looks like acquiring expensive status symbols, the latest luxury car, the designer wardrobe, the lavish trips, not because they genuinely bring you joy or serve a business purpose, but because of an unexamined need for external validation. It looks like impulse investing in trendy, speculative assets you heard about at a networking event, without doing proper due diligence or understanding the underlying fundamentals. It's like having a high-performance race car, but only ever driving it to the corner store. You have immense power, but aren't using it to reach its full potential. Think about the entrepreneur making healthy profits. They can afford the flashy watch or the second vacation home. But if that excess cash is blown on luxury goods instead of being strategically reinvested back into the business, perhaps hiring key talent who could unlock massive growth, scaling successful marketing channels, or developing a new product line, they are actively hindering their own acceleration. Or maybe they fail to diversify their personal investments beyond their business, leaving their financial security overly concentrated in one area. This isn't just inefficient spending. It's a profound missed opportunity to accelerate their trajectory towards true financial independence, build lasting legacy, or achieve their grand vision years, maybe even decades, sooner. The surprising insight here is this: for ambitious builders, unintentionality isn't just inefficient. It's the silent killer of exponential growth. Your money isn't just something you earn and spend. It's a powerful tool, a resource pool capable of creating far more than just comfort. Intentionality at this level is about becoming a master strategist with that tool, using the right tool for the right job. Is the right job aggressive investment in assets that compound wealth? Is it strategic hiring to buy back your most valuable asset, time? Is it setting up charitable foundations or giving back in ways that align with your values? Or is it securing your family's future through robust estate planning and insurance? Every dollar left idle or deployed without purpose is a soldier not fighting for your highest goals. Ask yourself, look at your most significant financial resources right now. Your liquid cash, excess business profits, underperforming assets. Is that money actively and intentionally working towards your biggest financial, business, or life goals? If not, where could it be more intentionally deployed to accelerate your progress? This isn't about deprivation. It's about optimization for impact. Okay, welcome back to the Earn Flow Zone. You've hopefully taken the plunge and tracked your spending, even if it was just for a few days. Or hey, maybe you just mentally simulated it, which is, abstract data collection. Now we arrive at the next critical junction, arguably the point where most people pump the brakes, facing the actual numbers. This moment is like stepping onto the scale after ignoring it for months. It can feel incredibly vulnerable. Maybe even a little shameful to see the cold, hard truth of where your money has been flowing. It's easy to think you spend a certain way. Oh, I barely eat out, you might tell yourself. Or, my subscriptions aren't that much. But the numbers? They don't sugarcoat anything. This is precisely why many people stop tracking after a day or two. They dread this revelation. They fear the judgment, not from others, but from the mirror reflecting their own habits back at them. But here's the crucial mindset shift. Data is information, not judgment. Think of yourself as a financial detective. You're not here to blame or shame. You're here to uncover the truth. Every transaction, every purchase is a clue. Your job now is to piece them together, to solve the mystery of where your money actually goes. Forget how you wish you spent or how you think you spend. let's look at reality. The practical next step is simple, but requires focus. Categorize every single transaction from your tracked days or your last month's bank statement. You can use a dedicated budgeting app. There are tons of great ones out there. A simple spreadsheet you create yourself, or even just a pen and paper by going line by line through your bank statement PDF. Create categories that make sense to you. Common ones include housing, rent or mortgage, food, groceries, dining out, transportation, gas, public transport, car payments, entertainment, movies, hobbies, nights out, utilities, electricity, water, internet, insurance, debt payments, and savings. Add others that reflect your life, like pet care, health and wellness, or even just a miscellaneous category for the small, random things, though try to keep this one small. As you go through this process, be honest. Was that $5 coffee a want or a need? Was that online purchase for something you genuinely needed, or was it retail therapy? Tally up the totals for each category. This is where the surprising insight hits most people like a gentle but firm financial slap. Your spending rarely, if ever, matches your assumptions. You might discover you're spending twice as much on dining out as you thought, or that those small, insignificant daily purchases add up to a shocking amount in the miscellaneous or wants category. Conversely, you might find you spend less on essentials and more on things that don't truly add long-term value to your life. This awareness, this clear picture of your financial reality, is the absolute foundation of intentional spending and saving. You cannot effectively budget or plan your financial future if you don't know your starting point. It's like trying to navigate to a new city without knowing your current location. You're just driving around hoping to get lucky. This one habit, looking at the numbers and categorizing them, changed everything for me. It moved my finances from a hazy guess to a clear map. So for action right now, take those 3 days of tracking data or commit to using your last month's bank statement if tracking was a non-starter this time. Categorize every single transaction. Yes, even that one impulse buy you regret. Tally up the total spent in each category. See the truth. All right, you've done the hard work of looking the numbers in the eye. You've seen exactly where your money has been flowing. The espresso streams, the impulse purchase puddles, maybe even a few surprising sinkholes. That was step 1, understanding the is. Now we pivot sharply towards the should be. This is where the real power lies, the power of intentionality. Think of it like this. Having the spending data is like getting your physical fitness report. You know your current weight, your mile time, your body fat percentage. Crucial info, right? But that data alone doesn't build the physique or run the marathon. The next non-negotiable step is deciding what kind of physical freedom or performance you want, and then aligning your training and diet, your resources, with that vision. Money works the exact same way. Your data is your financial health report. The next step is deciding what financial freedom looks like for you, truly for you, and then directing your money flow towards that future. Remember that exercise we did back in section 2, defining what financial freedom or success truly meant to you. Maybe it was spending more time with family, traveling, starting a business, or simply having the mental peace of a solid emergency fund. Now, bring that vision directly to the data you just analyzed. If financial freedom means more quality time with your kids, are your spending habits reflecting that value? Or are you still draining your energy and your wallet on things that ultimately keep you shackled to a job you dread, rather than enabling you to create space for what matters most. It's like saying you want to run a marathon, but only training by lifting donuts. The actions just don't line up with the goal. Or maybe your why is starting that passion project, building a side hustle, or launching a full-blown business. If that's your goal, are you actively cutting unnecessary expenses, redirecting those funds to build crucial startup capital? Or are you still caught in the social media trap, unconsciously trying to keep up with the spending habits of your employed peers, burning cash that could literally fuel your escape route? Here's the common myth that trips up so many people, that money is simply about numbers on a screen, a dry, emotionless ledger. You earn X, you spend Y, you save Z. Boring, right? The surprising, transformative insight is this: money is not just currency, it is a powerful tool for building a life directly aligned with your deepest values and aspirations. When your spending and saving habits are out of sync with your fundamental why, that core vision of financial freedom or a values-aligned life, you feel it. You feel that persistent, nagging internal conflict, that sense of being slightly out of control, rudderless. Why? Because you are quite literally using your precious resources, your money, and the time energy it represents, against your own stated desires and goals. It's like trying to paddle upstream with a hole in your boat, or trying to build a sturdy house by using spaghetti instead of lumber. This is precisely where the emotional side of money, the part often ignored, comes into crystal clear focus. Your spending is rarely just a transaction. It is often a direct reflection of your beliefs, your fears, your desires, and even your feelings about yourself and your place in the world. Are you impulse buying because of stress? Are you overspending on social outings because of a fear of missing out? FOMO? Are you underspending on self-improvement or experiences because you don't feel worthy of them yet? Every dollar spent or saved tells a story about your inner world. So, with that data in hand, let's get brutally honest, but kindly so. This isn't about judgment. It's about clarity and empowerment. Take a look at those spending categories you identified. Now, hold them up against your top 3 financial values or goals that you defined earlier. For reflection, look at your spending categories. Which categories genuinely align with your top 3 financial values or goals? Which categories, perhaps surprisingly, contradict them? Be specific. This simple act of comparison is the first step from unconscious spending to powerful, values-driven financial flow. Okay, you've done the hard work of gathering the data, shining a light into those corners of your financial life you might have ignored, and most importantly, clarified what truly matters to you. Now, with that clarity and that data as your guide, you step into perhaps the most empowering phase: making conscious choices. This is where that word, budgeting, comes back into the picture. But let's ditch the mental image of a rigid cage. Think of it instead as your intentional spending plan. It's not about deprivation. It's about direction. You're not building a financial prison. You're designing a freedom map. You look at those spending categories you identified earlier, the ones that don't light up when compared to your core values or your big picture goals. Where can you strategically pull back? Where can you reduce or, yes, even eliminate spending? This isn't about suffering through ramen noodles, unless that is your thing. Hey, no judgment. It's about redirecting valuable resources from the unimportant to the important. Maybe it's finally cutting the cord on streaming services you haven't watched in months. That feels like canceling a gym membership you never used, right? Or perhaps it's consciously cutting back on dining out or finding smarter, cheaper alternatives for essentials you buy on autopilot. Maybe, just maybe, it means temporarily pausing a less urgent savings goal to aggressively tackle high-interest debt that's bleeding you dry. Think of it like this. You wouldn't keep shoveling money into a leaky bucket, would you? High-interest debt is a financial leak you need to plug first. Here's a relatable picture. You look at your spending tracker and see you dropped $400 last month on impulse online shopping. You know, the kind of stuff that gave you a little dopamine hit when it arrived, maybe sat around for a bit, and now you barely remember buying it. That was fleeting joy. Now, compare that $400 to your goal of building a $1,000 emergency fund. If you'd redirected that impulse spending, you could have built your fund 4 times faster. It's like running on a financial treadmill, going nowhere, versus running towards your destination. Here's the surprising insight that truly shifted things for many people. Every single spending decision you make is a trade-off. Every single one. When you buy that extra coffee, you're trading that money not being in your savings account or not going towards debt. When you impulse shop, you're trading that money not being used to build your emergency fund or invest in your future. You are always choosing one thing over another, even when you are completely unaware you're making a choice. Intentionality doesn't give you infinite money. Wouldn't that be nice? It makes those trade-offs visible and deliberate. You gain control, true control, not by having boundless resources, but by consciously allocating your finite resources towards what truly, deeply matters most to you. It's about being the conductor of your financial orchestra, not just letting the instruments play themselves. For action this week, identify just one non-essential spending category where you can realistically reduce spending by 10 to 20% this month. Maybe it's coffee shops. Maybe it's impulse buys. Maybe it's a subscription service. Decide exactly how you will do it. Don't just say, cut back on lunch out. Say, I will pack my lunch 3 times this week instead of 2. Get specific. This one habit changed everything for me because it turned vague intention into concrete action. Okay, so we've talked about bringing intention to your finances. But let's be real. Intentionality isn't just a one-time sit-down with your budget app. It's a living, breathing practice. And here's the surprising truth. Trying to maintain that practice purely through willpower is like trying to run a marathon powered solely by your enthusiasm on mile 1. You are going to crash and burn. Life gets messy. Stress hits you like a rogue wave. Suddenly, that carefully crafted budget flies out the window, and you're back to old habits before you even know it. Relying on willpower is a recipe for financial frustration because you're counting on a limited resource in an unpredictable world. This is where we build your financial autopilot. But unlike a typical autopilot that just follows a preset course, this one is intentionally programmed by you. Think of it like setting up guardrails on a winding road. They make it much harder to go off track. Instead of manually deciding to save every month and maybe conveniently forgetting when things get tight, you automate the decision. For instance, one of the most powerful yet simple systems you can build is automating savings transfers. The day after payday, set up an automatic transfer of a specific amount, even if it's just $20 or $50. from your checking account straight into a separate savings account. This money moves before you even have a chance to see it, feel it, or spend it. It's gone, doing its job, and you don't have to expend a single ounce of willpower to make it happen each time. It becomes your financial default. Beyond automation, systems involve setting up your environment for success. Use budgeting apps that track spending and send you alerts before you overspend, not just after. Schedule specific check-in times, weekly coffee sessions with your numbers, or a monthly deep dive to review your spending and progress. This isn't about restriction. It's about awareness and adjustment. Make the intentional choices the easy choices. If you're saving for a big goal, like that dream trip to Paris in 2025, create a dedicated savings account and literally name it Paris 2025. Every time you see that name, you reinforce the purpose of the money. Want to invest consistently? Automate a transfer to your brokerage account just like you did with savings. You see the money doing its job for your future right there. The truly eye-opening insight here is that successful money management isn't primarily about being a mathematical genius or possessing superhuman self-control. It's about designing your financial environment, setting up these systems so that intentional behavior becomes your natural default. It's the difference between trying to remember to do push-ups every day and having your gym bag packed by the door and a workout buddy waiting. Systems create consistency effortlessly, freeing up your limited mental energy for enjoying your life, rather than constantly battling your own impulses. This one habit of automating transfers changed everything for me because it took the decision out of my hands and put it on autopilot. So, here's your prompt for action today. Right now, automate one financial action. This could be setting up that small, automatic transfer to savings, scheduling a bill payment you always forget until the last minute, or setting a recurring calendar reminder for a monthly budget review. Just pick one system and put it in place. So we've navigated the landscape of taking charge, understanding that building your flow zone isn't about luck or just high income, but about one powerful principle: intentionality with your money. It's like being a skilled gardener. Instead of just scattering seeds and hoping for the best, it means truly understanding the soil, where your money is going. It's about aligning that flow, directing resources with purpose so they nurture the garden you actually want to grow. Reflecting your deepest values and goals. It's about making conscious choices, understanding the trade-offs, maybe choosing compost over chemical fertilizer because you value long-term soil health, and building simple systems to support those choices consistently, even when you're tired. Intentionality isn't about deprivation or making a ton of money overnight. Though surprisingly, this deliberate approach often does help you make and keep more over time. It's about gaining control, cultivating clarity, and building quiet confidence, regardless of what your bank account looks like right now. When you live with financial intentionality, you step off the chaotic treadmill or the drowsy autopilot. You move into that flow zone, a state where your money is no longer a source of dread or confusion, but a powerful tool actively working for the life you're building, day by day. The knot of anxiety in your stomach starts to loosen because you actually understand your situation. Opportunities that seemed invisible before for saving, investing, learning, suddenly become clearer because you're actively directing resources towards them. Even the small, daily decisions about spending feel less like annoying restrictions and more like deliberate steps on a chosen, exciting path. It's surprisingly empowering. But what happens if you shrug your shoulders and ignore this lesson? Well, you effectively sign up for a permanent residency on the financial hamster wheel. You'll keep earning, you'll keep spending, you'll keep worrying, and you'll constantly wonder where it all went, whether you make $30,000 or $300,000. You'll be swayed by every shiny marketing campaign, pressured by social media's highlight reels, and run by your own unconscious habits. Like a leaf blown by the wind, you'll feel like a passenger in your own financial life, strapped into the back seat rather than the driver with hands firmly on the wheel. Opportunities for real saving, intelligent investing, meaningful growth, and ultimately true financial freedom will pass you by. Not because you couldn't technically afford them, but because you weren't intentionally directing your limited time, energy, and money towards making them happen. This isn't just about the numbers in your account. It's about living a life built by design, not one lived by default. Your financial health, it turns out, is intrinsically linked to your mental well-being, your stress levels, and your very ability to pursue your deepest ambitions. Taking control of your money flow is, quite simply, taking control of a huge, foundational part of your life. So what is your single, most important step to claim this power, to start shifting into that earn flow zone today? It's simple, perhaps deceptively so, but definitely not easy for most people. For the next 72 hours, commit to tracking every single dollar that enters or leaves your possession. Yes, every coffee, every gas fill-up, every bill payment, every unexpected refund. Write it down in a notebook, log it instantly in an app, punch it into a spreadsheet, whatever works for you. Just get the raw data. No exceptions. No, oh, I'll do that later. No excuses, and absolutely no judgment during the process. Just observe, collect the information. This small act of awareness, this moment of shining a light into the dark corners of your spending and earning, is the tiny, this moment of shining a light into the dark corners of your spending and earning is the tiny, biggest impact on your finances. Powerful seed from which all future financial power and intentionality will grow. Start there. The earn flow zone is waiting, and it begins with seeing where you are. In the end, your bank account will catch up to your mindset, not the other way around.